Lazarus and C++ using pipes, also known as multi-language programming. Used to be quite common, and still is. You use it all the time. You just don't know it. When you use a cell phone, the front end is probably Java, but the back end is Linux, and Linux is written in C and C++. So every time you write a program for a cell phone, you are using multi-language programming. The same thing is true when you use a game engine like Unreal, Godot, and Unity. Multi-language programming is everywhere. In Linux, when you add a header Windows and then use any of the Windows APIs, you are using multi-language programming because Windows is written in C and C++. But why would I want to use pipes? Pipes is part of the IPC, which stands for Inter-Process Communication. IPC is how you communicate between processes. A process is an instance of a program, or a copy. Lazarus is a good IDE for the Pascal language. Lazarus makes great GUIs, graphical user interfaces, second to none, and its functions are great too. But I've been programming for years and have a huge C++ code base. Even if you don't have a code base, every language does something better. Example, if you write a web page, you probably use HTML, CSS, and some JavaScript, because each of these languages does something better than the other. Now let's get started. The first thing we need to do is to write a C++ program which receives and sends data to and from Lazarus. Now let's open our C++ IDE. I'm using CodeBlock. If you want to use it too, you can download it. It's easy to install. But you can use any of the C++ IDEs. The first thing we need to do is open our C++ IDE. I'm using CodeBlock. If you want to use it too, you can download it. It's easy to install. But you can use any C++ IDE. First thing we need to do in CodeBlocks is create a new project. This is a console project, C++, and the name of it is going to be read Pascal string. Down here where it says output directory, I just wipe that out so that it'll be in the root directory. Now your compiler will write a simple program. Just wipe out what's between the main and the return. You may find that you have a line saying using namespace std. If you do, wipe that out. We don't use the using namespace std using namespace because it's become so large that it has so many keywords that it will conflict with other programs or libraries that you happen to be using. Now the first thing we're going to do is create a string. Here, because we didn't use the namespace, we put in std : string, and the string's name is name. Now, the second line, we're going to use getLine. Now what this does is getLine will retrieve whatever is sent to you from console in, and it will put it in name, and it will do it with the white spaces. Now next we're going to have the function that will send it out. This one, what it does is it will send whatever's in name out into the console. This is interesting, this console out, because it will convert stuff as well. For instance, if you have a bunch of numbers in there, it'll convert them to string. And this part tells it to give us an end of line. And this is our program. Now go up here and make sure that release is selected and compile it. If we did everything correctly, it will compile it. Now there's only one thing wrong with this program, and that is it didn't check the boundaries. You should always check the boundaries when using staying in and staying out. And that is because they are only limited by the amount of memory that's on the server. This line right here is the one we use to do that. It's saying that if the size of the string is greater than 256, which of course you can use any number you want in there, then we should just quit the whole program immediately. Because there's a process that's called denial of services, DOS, which is where a hacker will send you an enormous amount of information to keep your computer occupied. And so you don't want that. So this is how you prevent it. Now let's start the Lazarus IDE. Choose New Project, or at the top of your IDE, there's New Project. This is an application. And then the first thing I always do is resize my form and give it a name. Pascal 2 C++. Now save your project. Save as. Create a new directory called Pascal 2 C++. Open it and then name your project Pascal 2 C++. Don't worry about the extension, it will be added automatically. And then save the unit file as well. Now let's open your file browser and go to where you wrote your C++ program. And copy the executable, read Pascal string. Then go to where you created your Pascal program and paste it. Pascal to C++. Now we're back in our Lazarus IDE. Under Uses, we need to add a header called Process. This will allow us to use external programs. Now let's bring the form to the front by pressing F12. Sometimes you have to press F12 twice. Now we need to add 2 buttons and 2 edit boxes. The buttons are under Standard. And so is the edit boxes. Now, we click on the button number 1. And in caption, we put send. Then, bring up the form. Button 2 will be exit. We also can click on these things in the Object Inspector. Click on Edit and go down to where it says Text. Wipe that out so we won't have anything already written into the box. And do the same thing with the other one. Now make sure you don't take out the name. It says name, it's text. Now your form is finished. Now double click on the exit button. This will bring up the exit form, or the exit function rather. And in it, you put form 1 dot close. Next, bring up the the form again and double click on send. This will bring up the send form. In this function, we need some local variables. And the way we do that is we go right next to the semicolon, press enter, then put VAR, that stands for variable. Then we want to add our variables. Here we have some declarations. The first declaration says A process, T process. What this does is it takes the class T process, creates a copy of that class called A process, and it tells the compiler that we were figuring on using this class. The second one is A string list, and a colon, and then T string list does the same as the first one. Now we have S, str, string 1, string 2, string 3, and string 4, colon, and then string. Now we created 5 strings. We want 2 integers, X and W. Now we click next to begin, and we need to create 2 objects. One of them is going to be the A process, and the other one's going to be A string. A process dot not. Actually, A process equals, and in Lazarus, equals is a colon and an equal sign. T process dot create, and in here we put a null. What this does is it gives memory to this copy of this class. So now it's an object. You want to do the same thing for string list. Whenever you create a object, you want to delete the object. The first one was a process. Dot free. And the second one was a string list. Dot free. Now I would run my program at this point just to see if it works. This automatically saves your file. Now, if you noticed here on the A string list, there's no colon or parentheses with null in it. Next, we're going to copy the part that goes with the process. Now, I'll explain what each of these things do. The first line tells the compiler what the name of the executable is that we're going to use, which is read Pascal string.execute. The second one is the option. Access.options equals access.options plus, and PO uses pipes means we wish to use pipes. PO STDERR to output is telling it that we want to use the errors that come from the C++ program and have them display inside of the bottom text edit so we'll know what's going on. And this one says that we do not want the console for the C++ program to pop up. Down here we have a process.show window equals no show no, which means we don't want any GUIs, which this doesn't have one, popping up. We put that in there so we'll be sure to not have a problem with it. Next, we have a process.execute, which means we want to now run this program. Next, we are going to write the code that takes whatever's in edit box 1 and sends it to the C++ program. Here, we're storing in the string S what is written in the edit box 1, and we're adding an enter and a line feed. This is how we can use the enter key on the keyboard without actually using the key. Next, it says if link S is greater than 256 255 characters, then abort. That's because they're able to send anything they want to you, to the other program. And we don't want that. Next, it's a process, input, write whatever's in that string into the program, the C++ program. Of course, it's the length of that string. That's what that does. Now we need to write the code that is going to receive the C++ output. First line is a string list, load from stream rather, process output. So it's the output of the C++ program into this list. And if string list.text.length is greater than 256 characters, then we need to abort. Now you might be wondering why we're using a string list whenever we're only using one element of that string list. And that is because the string list has load from stream in it. And we want to use that function. Now this is pretty much everything to doing this. So now let's go ahead and compile it. See if it works. Put something in there that has a space so you can make sure that the space works. And it doesn't. I wonder why. Debugging is a really important part of being able to write programs. So we're going to debug this program and find out whether or not it is the string that we're sending to the C++ program or the string that is coming from the C++ program. Now let's run the program, see what we have. Now we know that what's being sent is not what the problem is. Now we know that there is a problem with what's being received. So let's look at the error thing here. It says that that it's a string list error. So let's break that right there. Go up here and press this little square, which shuts down the program. If it would pop up a unit from our, right here, from the library, you want to close that after you read it. Close it, because you don't want to screw them up. Well, there's two problems with this program. The first one is in the show message, a string list. And then we put 1, which we might think is the first element. But the first element of a string list is actually 0. The second thing we forgot to do was put the return into the edit to box. let's run the program and see what happens. And it works fine. Now let's take a look at this line. This line says to print out the first element of this string list. We could also put this in there. And if we run the program, we get the same results. But that's only because there's only one value in this, there's only one element in this string list. If there was 5, it would print out all 5 of them. So how do we use that for our advantage?